Good morning and welcome to today's Friends Life Care Vigor Wellness webinar, Journey to Holism, Living a Full Life, presented by Etta Hornsteiner. My name is Gail Tamarchio and I'm the Friends Life Care Director of Wellness Initiatives, and I'm delighted that you're joining us today. I hope you're all doing well and staying healthy. I'll be your moderator for today's session, and I'd like to start just by providing a few housekeeping tips, just to make sure that you have everything you need. So this is an example of the attendee interface, and you should have something that looks like this in the upper right corner of your screen. And you should have received an email from Friends Life Care Vigor this morning with a copy of a handout for today's webinar. If you didn't receive the handout, don't worry, you should find it in the handout interface, which is right above the question box. So you can print that out, and Etta would like you to print that out because she would like to have you follow along and fill in some spaces on the handout today while we're going through. So now you're listening in on your computer's audio system by default. If you would prefer to join over the phone, all you have to do is just click on this little telephone button. Oops, I'm sorry, went to the wrong slide. What happened here? Sorry about that. Okay. So just click on this telephone button over here and you'll be able to get the dial-in information. Etta may also ask you some questions throughout the presentation, and as she's asking you questions, you may just answer and respond by just clicking on this little palm with the arrow, and that's how you raise your hand. And if you'd like to ask Etta questions during the presentation, you can also do that at any time. Just type them into this question box, and Etta will be answering questions throughout the webinar. Okay, and you will be receiving a copy of a recording of this webinar within probably 4 hours after the webinar is over. So you feel free if you'd like to share it with a friend, okay, or listen to it again yourself. So now I'd like to introduce our speaker, Etta Hornsteiner. Etta is an integrative health coach. She trained at Duke Integrative Medicine and Maryland University of Integrative Health. She holds master's degrees in education and integrative health and wellness coaching. In addition to her health coaching, she's also an educator and the author of 10 Guiding Lights to Health and Wholeness. Etta, thank you so much for joining us today. Can't wait to hear what you have to share with us.
Good morning.
Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot to change the screen. I'm just so busy introducing you, I forgot to change the screen. Sorry about that. So now I'll give you Etta.
Okay, sure. Good morning. Now, if you are there, let's take a check-in to make sure you are ready for the journey. I want you to tell me yes if you are here, but do not use the word yes. So in that box that says question, tell me you're here by using another word besides yes. Okay, I see. Thank you. I hear. Thank you. Present. Hi, Jay. Present. Breathe. Present. Present. Listening. Listening. Great. Hi. Hi, Rose. Present and aware. I like that. Ruth is here. Alive. I'm here, Marilyn. Thank you. All right. Thank you. Thank you all for joining me on the journey to holism. Anticipating, yes. Thank you so much. We are ready to begin this journey, and it is called Holism Secrets: How to Create a Life of Holism in a Broken World. And just a minute. And today I'm going to let you inside my life of holism and share the 3 secrets I discovered that can make the world of difference for you. And I want to encourage you to stay to the very end of the webinar because I have a special gift for you. So don't forget, you have to stay to the end to get the special gift. Now, I am, as Gail announced, I am a health coach, but unlike most other health coaches, I've lived this my entire life. We all have these landmark occasions in our lives where something becomes really aware to us or becomes a reality to us. Well, believe it or not, it was one of these landmark occasions was when I was competing as a bodybuilder. Now, I didn't know I was supposed to be vain as a bodybuilder, so I didn't take many photos, but I captured these ones that were featured in a local newspaper when I was competing in the US and in Canada, and in the US and in the Bahamas. I was teaching at the time, but I later left teaching and continued in bodybuilding and began to do a little bit of fitness modeling. And of course, I needed a career to find a new career. I needed to make money. So I did the next best thing, which was to become a personal trainer. My passion has always been for people. And now at age 51, that's me in the middle, of course, it's still about people, about seeing people become their best selves. I've always been involved in transforming lives, whether it was through my book or programs. Transforming and improving people's lives has been my passion and purpose. I love empowering my clients. And for those who are just joining, hi, I'm Etta. I am a certified integrative health coach, trained at Duke Integrative Medicine and Maryland University of Integrative Health. I hold a master's degree in education. I was a personal trainer for 5 years. I competed as a bodybuilder for 7 years. I was also editor-in-chief of a health and wellness digital magazine for 10 years. And previously, I taught high school for 13 years. And that's my husband, Michael, and I. And we have been married for almost 10 years. And we were one of those people who got married 10, 10, 10, like October 10th, 2010. Well, we tend to like the number 10 for some reason. And I wrote the book 10 Guiding Lights to Health and Wholeness. But anyway, when my husband and I moved into this house, our house, we had a backyard that was undeveloped. He would say it was a natural backyard, but I thought it was undeveloped. It just had woods, and I was just afraid to venture more than 600 feet. I mean, I guess my imagination was very active, and I thought, oh my gosh, only God knows what was in the woods or what was out there to get me. So, but one spring day, I got so tired of seeing all the dead leaves. There were leaves all over the place on the porch. So I decided that, you know what, I'm just going to sweep this dead leaves off the porch. And something happened. It looked good to see the beautiful marbled brown concrete stones, but it also felt good to clear the space. So I decided to go a little further. And so I got a rake and I began to rake the dead leaves off the grass. And that felt good too. So I decided to go just a little bit farther. But this was where the woods began. And only God one knows, like I said, what was in the woods. But something caught my eyes, and it looked like it was a little path. So I decided that, okay, let me remove some leaves and before I realized what was happening, I was like, you know what? I'm creating a walking trail. So I decided that, okay, I'm going to continue this walking trail all around our property. So I had the wheelbarrow, I had a rake, I had a shovel, and then some parts with some trees, little trees, not huge trees. So I got my husband's chainsaw and I was, remove those trees. And I did this for several mornings and got up, try to get up early to beat the mosquitoes, but they were there already. And I kept working on this path, on this trail by now. And so when my husband realized what I was doing, he came out and he said, "What are you doing?" He's like, "You're just wasting your time. What are you doing all this work for?" But nevertheless, and he thought I was wasting my time, I somehow easily convinced him that we needed some gravel for the trail. Because when he realized it, I think he realized that I had created a walking trail all around our property. And so just to give you a little glimpse of the walking trail, you can see at the bottom photo where the gravel was laid. And I mean, this took some time because it took actually a couple months just to put the gravel down and to pound it. But it was so much fun because I ended up sharing it with the path I was working on with some friends, and they came over to help, and my niece, she also came over to help to create the path, to create the trail. And the above photos is my dog Samson, and we share. I like to talk about the wildlife that lives in this on the trail, because I shared with the toads and the frogs, the salamanders and the lizards and the snakes, the garter snakes. I've been told they are, and that they are harmless. But to me, a snake is a snake. But anyway, I don't really care for amphibians and reptiles in particular very much. So we keep our social distance and we respect each other. So this was our path. So while working on the path, I realized it was teaching me lessons. What were these lessons? There will be obstacles. What are these obstacles? Fear. While creating my walking trail, I was afraid, especially as the trees got thicker. I mean, I didn't even want to venture 600 feet, from the house. So when we're about to make change on a journey called Journey of Holism, there's going to be fear, criticism. Expect criticism on the journey to holism. My husband told me I was wasting my time. Someone is going to criticize you when you decide to change something or to do something different, or they may make you feel out of place because you've chosen to change. On the journey to holism, it involves growth, and growth means change. Resource. All I had was a rake and a wheelbarrow and maybe a shovel. Do you have enough? Can you make the change? And sometimes, we just have to just do it. Just go ahead and, okay, I'm just going to get started on it. External factors. There's always going to be things that we cannot control, whether they be barriers, we call them barriers, or obstacles. There were mosquitoes out there when I was creating the trail or creating the path. But I decided that, okay, the mosquitoes are out there, but I can do something about it. I can spray some off, at least spray some off. So there are some things we may be able to do, but we're not going to be able to control everything out there. What will you need on this journey? Creativity. All of us are unique individuals. Your journey is going to be unique to you. We are creative beings. I had a rake, shovel, and wheelbarrow, and I found some logs thrown to the side to enhance the trail. What do you have near you, within you, in your hands, to create a journey that is uniquely yours and fulfilling? Faith. I felt compelled to follow the path. Something was leading me out there every morning to work on the path. There were times I didn't even know where to take the path. And I love this. I usually share this little piece of the story, of the story of the path. When I didn't know where to take the path or to continue, I would wait until the sun rays would fall and I would follow the sun rays. Wherever they fell, I would follow them. What compelled you to be here today? Will you continue the journey after the webinar? Courage. I was afraid. I didn't know what I would discover. Yes, on the journey of holism, we're not sure what we're going to discover, but I decided to follow the path. It will take courage. Courage does not exist without fear. Will you be courageous to set out on a new journey? Or if you are already on the journey, will you go deeper? Energy. Being fit did pay off because I didn't even have to go to the gym those days. Or maybe I think I missed a couple months or two. Your health is what will take you on this journey. Energy is generated by moving and eating the right foods. Are you fit for the journey, or do you need to get fit for the journey? Patience. Working on the trail taught me patience. I didn't know it was going to take several days, but that was not important. It was the process, the in between, that was most valuable. Are you willing to be patient to go through the process? They say life is the in between. So, what is my mission today? My mission is to empower 100 people to live integrated lives of holism in 2020. So, I know why I am here. So the question is, why are you here? It is important to know your why because your why gives you your energy to follow the how. So using the box, we're going to use the one that says questions. Share with me. Oh, I invite you to share with me why you are here.
Okay.
Okay, no one, we don't have any courageous individuals out there.
Oh, we do have some answers that I'm sorry, I didn't know I was going to read them. Okay, so we have curiosity
Oh, okay.
to listen and learn. Do you want me to just read them off or do you want to do one at a time?
No, go ahead.
Okay, so curiosity to listen and learn, to create a healthy, fulfilling life. I like to find a way to put more balance in my life, want to live a better life, to learn a better way of living that will help me with being a better mother to my children. I love my friend Etta and I want to be healthy in all ways of my life. Very sweet. And let's see, community to follow the path the Lord has set for me. Encouragement to learn what holism is, to learn about this topic. Self-improvement. It seemed like an interesting webinar to attend. I'd like to learn more about holism. Gain more insights. For encouragement to stay active and healthy, to improve myself, to find clarity for my next chapter in life. I need to make a change that betters myself. I need some direction in this new life. Feels empty and insecure. I think a lot of us are feeling that today, these days, like what is going on? Seek holism in all areas of my life. I'm a social worker who works 2 jobs, and I know that self-care is easier taught than managed at times. So the title lured me in because self-care is so important for me and the clients I serve. Here's being healthier and stronger, doing music, getting back to tap dancing. And that's a great one to end on. Okay.
Wow. Wow. There was,
There's one more.
okay.
I'm sorry. Need some direction in this new life. Okay, well, I got that one. Feels empty and insecure. Okay, got that one. Oh, and
Wow.
having to follow up with a new job when it actually starts someday.
Okay. Okay.
So they keep adding. Okay.
Oh, they keep adding. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay. That's great. Wonderful.
Yeah. Okay. Well, wow. I have my work cut out for me this morning. I will do my best to respond to all of those questions. But I think this is just, remember, this is just the beginning of the journey. But it's, let's go. If you're ready for the ride, I'm ready. Let's go. So here are the objectives. So to define holism, and that's question was already asked for some of you who mentioned it. Share 3 secrets to the life of holism. Understand how our physical, mental, social, and spiritual domains of health interconnect. Redefine balance as harmony and synergy. Learn how to engage all of the domains of health to achieve optimal health and healing. So those are objectives for this webinar. What is holism? The word holism, and I'm going to spell this, and I'm going to be very intentional about it because I know that you smart people have seen the spelling on this webinar, on this main page or the first page. What is holism? This is Holism. The word holism was coined by Jan Kristen Smuts in 1926. And he believed that every part, everything was connected to one whole, to be whole. And he was coming from a biological perspective or evolutionary perspective. And he also believed that a change in one part affected a change in every part. So if you were baking a cake and the recipe called for 2 cups of flour and you changed it to 1 cup, then you know that it will affect all of the other ingredients in that cake as a whole. So our health and well-being operate in a similar manner. So holism means parts of the whole are interconnected, connected to our environment, to each other, and ourselves. You know, it's just like being outside with sharing my space with all the wild animals, whether it's the deer, the squirrel, all of those that live or visit my backyard. Holism, parts of the whole are also interdependent, cannot exist independently of the whole. And notice the word, the emphasis is on whole, W-H-O-L-E. Holism, parts of the whole are incomplete, cannot be understood without reference to the whole. So again, there's an emphasis on whole. But during the time of Jan Christian Smuts, we are talking about it from a biological perspective, because things are going to gradually begin to change over the years. And you're going to see as I continue or we journey through this webinar, and we're going to notice that health is changing as well and taking on a different shape, more wholeness, which brings us to another person who played a significant role into holism, but his was reflected in a different way. In 1977, this idea of holism was reflected in what we call the psychosocial model. Don't be afraid of that word. It just looks big, but it's not. And I'll show you that model soon. George Engel was a psychiatrist, and he addressed that to be healthy was not just the biological health. That was not just the only domain that was a part of our health, that we also had to consider the psychological and the social domain of health, that they were all important. So, for example, he challenged the biomedical model, which only looked at health from a disease perspective. So, for example, if someone had hypertension and they went to the doctor, they were only going to be treated for the hypertension. That's it. They would be given medication. But George Engel said, not only do we look at that biological part of the person, what's their history, family history, is there anyone in the family with hypertension, are they of a certain age, or are they overweight? He says not only are those things important, but also the psychological health of the person. Are they experiencing stress? And is the stress contributing to the pressure of the blood? Or the social domain, are they eating a diet that's high in sodium? Or maybe they're not getting enough exercise. He said all of these areas of health have to be considered when we are looking at the person, because we are whole beings. And so this is what the biopsychosocial and we have spiritual model looks like. Eventually, spiritual was added to it because researchers and scientists argue that the spiritual part is also, spiritual health is also a component. So you have bio, psychological, social, spiritual. The whole person care is also realizing its interconnection of body, mind, and spirit. So we can take this even bigger, and it becomes body, mind, and spirit. So now that we know the domains of health, what are the secrets to living a life that is full, meaningful, and well? Are you ready? Okay. Ta-da-da! Here are the 3 secrets. Secret number 1, have a complete vision of your health. Secret number 2, create it and the community will come. Secret number 3, experience the magic of spirituality like heaven on earth. Which brings us to holism, secret number 1. And before I continue, are there any questions? Gail, let me know if there are questions.
So right now, there are no questions. I think you're doing a great job of explaining everything.
Okay. Ooh, all right. So let's go. The journey continues. Have a complete vision of your health. A complete vision of your health encompasses the biological, psychological, social, and spiritual. How do you want to age every day? What do you want to look like as you age? That's the biological. How can you be resilient in life? Psychological, mental domain. Who do you want to surround yourself with? That's the social health domain. What is your purpose? That is the spiritual health domain. And if we were to zoom in just a little bit more closely and take a look at the biological or physical domain of health And I'm just going to go through this quickly. Musculoskeletal systems, that's the muscles, the fascia, bones, joints. These areas are important because as we age, they help determine our independence and protect our autonomy. We have to make sure they're working right. The next one, autonomic nervous system. Sympathetic system and parasympathetic system make up the autonomic nervous system. Sympathetic nervous system, if you were to see a black bear, okay, your body will tell you run, or your brain will tell you run, run. It means run. That's the sympathetic system kicking in. The parasympathetic nervous system is normally referred to as the rest and digest. When you are asleep, that kicks in. Or when you're eating, the parasympathetic system will kick in. That's the system that helps us to relax when we need to relax. And that's very important and critical to our health. And cardiovascular system, heart, blood vessels and lungs, lymphatic system, that system removes waste and toxins from our bodies, and the respiratory system, which involves our lungs. So when we look at this in terms of the biopsychosocial spiritual model, we see here the physical state, the biological, the thoughts and emotions, the psychological, mental, and the social straightforward, and the spiritual straightforward. And they work as they should. Another word for balance I like to use is actually harmony. There's harmony. Everything, our body, everything around us. Remember, we're all interconnected. There's a harmony. There's a synergy being created. I like to think of it as an orchestra. Think of an orchestra. In an orchestra, you have certain section. You have the section for the violinist. You have the section for the trombonist. You have a section for the flute. And they all play different notes. But when the individual parts are heard together, harmony is created. So when everything is working together, they all have to interconnect. There's a synergy, and this effect of them working together is greater than the sum of them. So there's a harmony and there's a synergy. And again, we bring this back to our bodies, and we say our bodies operate synergistically, meaning one. So we can't just treat one part of the body. Okay? We have to treat every area. It has to be a whole person approach, because one part will affect the other part. And also take this even bigger, go wider. Then we have body, mind, and spirit to create harmony, and synergy is in the same way. They all work together. You need body and mind and spirit to create the music, the melody, rhythm, and harmony and synergy in life. Holism secret number 2. Okay, let's take a pause there and process a little bit. Any questions?
There's no questions, but someone said, great analogy. They liked your orchestra analogy.
Oh, thank you. Great. Yes, the orchestra. Yes. Thank you for your comments too. Appreciate that. Okay, holism secret number 2. Create your rituals. That was it. Create it, and the community will come. Create your rituals and the community will come. Rituals are everywhere. Birthdays, graduation ceremonies, the Eucharist. In Jewish tradition, you have Shiva, there's meditation, they're everywhere. Rituals create space for what's important to us. Rituals transform our inner world. which affects our relationship with others. Meaningful rituals can aid in transitions of life. And then we also have our daily rituals. Rituals affect our psychological health. Psychological health involves our intellectual and mental health, emotional health, ability to notice, understand, and express our emotions appropriately and accurately. It involves our self-esteem and confidence, our mood, and the way we connect to others. Are we able to show empathy, compassion, and love? Rituals are actions that support the deepening of our spiritual and emotional connections. Rather than simply going through the motions of life, integrating rituals into our lives brings vivid color. And someone asked me yesterday, what's the difference between habit and a ritual? And that was an excellent question. And normally when something's a habit, we just do it without thinking. It's a habit. But a ritual is intentional. It's purposeful. It's almost, it dwells in the world of mindfulness. You're very mindful that you're doing it. And I want to share with you, I found this study that I thought was really interesting. And you're going to see why, because when we're trying to make changes in our lives and we're trying to develop good habits, it's interesting what this study found out about people who wanted to be more disciplined. And so I'm going to read it to you. A study showed that people performing a ritual were more likely to select the option with the long-term benefit. Participant ratings suggested that the ritual influenced behavior by increasing people's feeling that they could be disciplined and exert willpower. The ritual did not influence people's beliefs about the importance of the goal they were pursuing, but somehow rituals make people feel more disciplined and they don't know why. One interesting thing about rituals, though, is that they have to be performed in a specific way to be done right. And that was pretty cool, I thought, that people chose a ritual despite the fact that the ritual with the long-term benefit, and it made them feel disciplined. And so that's interesting that when you think of making something, you want something to stick or you want to develop a good habit, why not think of it and turn it into a ritual? But anyway, let's move on to the next slide. Rituals also connect us to one another. Rituals act as an integrating force within a community. And that word integrating is significant because, again, we're talking about wholeness, connecting the parts. We are individuals, but we're a part of a whole. We're part of a community. We're part of a world. And what rituals will do, it will integrate us. This is the social domain, connection, relationship, community. In a changing world, rituals create stability. Personal rituals create structure in every day. I have 3 morning self-care rituals. Every morning, even when we went on lockdown, I still had these same rituals. Some parts of my world did not change because I still had these same rituals, and they were every morning. I would begin it with meditation and prayer. I would do my journaling or writing, and I would walk my trail with a cup of coffee. So what are some of, now, I bet all of us have rituals we may not be even aware of. So let's share. What are some of your self-care rituals or morning rituals or evening rituals? You can share it in the box.
Okay, here's one. I exercise first thing every morning.
Yes. Good. Thank you.
Okay.
Anybody else?
Okay, so every day I ask one thing that could have gone better and one thing that could have gone worse, kind of to check in with themselves.
Oh, okay, good.
Okay. Showering and attending services by Zoom with my community.
Showering. Okay, good. And attending service. I like that shower.
And making my bed.
Oh, making my bed. That's good.
That's
Yeah,
a good one.
that's a good
Walking.
one.
Walking.
Yes, yes.
And then tea, walk outside, and prayer.
Woohoo, yeah.
Morning journal writing and coffee, and an evening walk with a podcast.
Yes.
And then mindfulness practice,
Yeah. These are
prayer.
good.
Yeah, very nice. Walk with neighbor.
Mm-hmm.
Saying one thing positive that happened during the day. You're thinking about that.
Good.
This is a nice one. Wearing a piece of my mother's jewelry to feel more connected to her.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Wow. That's good.
And music is a big part of my life and relaxes me, like listening to music. Prayer and reading with coffee every morning.
Yes.
And in the morning, I spend some quiet time alone to reflect and thank the Most High for another day.
Yes.
Let's see. I journal every night before I go to bed and reflect on what I did during the day.
Good. Good.
Okay, pet care. So rituals with their pet. Personal hygiene. Okay, another one that's walking with their neighbor. All kind of good rituals here.
Good. Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. And then somebody had a comment that as a dementia care consultant, they love the concept of looking at the whole person.
Good. Yes. Yes. Yeah. Very good. Oh, those were very good. Those are excellent. Oh my, yeah, so rituals, they're very intentional, they're very aware, and you do them in a very specific way, a very specific way. So keep that in mind. They're a little slightly different than a habit. I call it, it's a little step above a habit, a little step above. So when we think of creating rituals, and I heard one example, they walk with a neighbor. So someone's ritual is bringing in the community, walking with the neighbor. That's good. Those are all good. Very good. Thank you so much. And rituals also create meaning in life. Rituals create resilience in a changing world, and resilience has to do with our ability to bounce back when there's a setback. Rituals create a path for transitions or a doorway into new dimensions of living. It was my rituals of self-care that led me to a new dimension of living and a community called Live Living. And I want to just share with you a little bit. 12 years ago, I founded a company with a group of friends. Those are my friends there, and it was called Live Living. Live Living was a faith-based nonprofit company with a focus on educating and empowering individuals to live a healthy life in body, mind, and spirit. It was my way of aligning what I did with who I was. With my background as an educator and personal trainer, I published a health and wellness magazine called Transformational Living for about 12 years and wrote a book called The 10 Guiding Lights to Health and Wholeness, which Gail mentioned earlier. It was through Live Living, I would also meet Dr. David Allen, and that you're looking at, a distinguished psychiatrist and professor who taught psychiatry at Harvard, Yale, and Georgetown Medical University. I worked with him on a theory called the contemplative discovery pathway theory. And the contemplative discovery pathway theory proposes that when we experience pain in life, like from a baby from having a wet diaper, that's discomfort, but it's pain to a baby. That's why the baby's crying. To a loss of a loved one, and and we're suffering, we learn as human beings to defend or protect our true selves by developing a shame-based false self, like a hard shell of protection. The contemplative discovery pathway theory process helps us to break out of this hard shell and move beyond the hurt and the pain. And so, just to explain it a little bit more, so throughout our lives, from when we are from when we enter this world, there's a hurt trail forming, a hurt trail. We're experiencing pain. We're forming a hurt trail, and this hurt trail leads to the shame false self. This is when we've been hurt, when we feel rejected, when someone has broken our heart, or whatever pain we feel. Eventually, we're protected. We learn to protect ourselves, and that shame that we feel becomes a protection, like a hard shell. Think of almost like a crab with a shell on inside that shell, or I would say maybe a soldier crab. Inside that is the crab, but the shell is that protection, and that's how the shame false self is formed to protect the true self. And this self protects, there's a defense against this shame, and it manifests itself in self-absorption, self-gratification, the need to control, which is sometimes manifested as fear, anger, anxiety. And one way the contemplative pathway theory process helps us to break out of this hard shell and move us beyond the hurt, the pain, and the shame is by helping us to become aware of our pain, of our hurt. And that's the first step, or the first stage, is awareness, being aware. If you're not aware, how can you deal with it? How can you work with it, or remove it, or be healed of it? That may be a better word, be healed of it, because health also involves a healing component as well. The second stage is the confrontation. They say what you don't face, you cannot conquer. So there's a confrontation involved, facing whatever that pain, facing whatever the hurt is. And then the next process, or the next step, or I wouldn't say step, I would say stage, would be quieting of the self, which involves deep breathing and the experience of silence, so that one can feel and touch the depth of one's heart. And coaching clients, I work with many of them who say that they become so busy that they lose touch with their hearts, with the inner being, who they truly are. And so when we are beginning to slow down, and not, this is a different type of slowing down, where we're allowing ourselves at this point to begin to feel, we begin to breathe slower, allowing ourselves to deep breathe, to be quiet, to be still, because in silence, we have to feel, we hear in silence. And a lot of times when we're on that busy, moving very busily on the journey, sometimes we don't feel, we don't have time to feel, we don't have time to be in touch with our true selves. Surrender. And in the contemplative discovery pathways theory, surrender is when you begin to grieve the loss that you thought you had to accept. So when we carry pain in our lives and hurt that we're holding on, at this place, at this part of the path of the discovery pathway theory, this surrender is you begin to cry because you realize that you were carrying something for so long that you didn't have to accept. Forgiveness is the letting go and realizing that you need a power greater than yourself. And then the next, it leads to the opening of the stream of love. As you remove the, Dr. Allen would say, we carry our pain and hurt in like a sponge. But then as we begin to go through that healing process, we begin to squeeze out the hurt and the pain. And then we begin to open our lives to love. We begin to open it to those who loved us, or where we experience unconditional love. Contemplation, opening to thin spaces. And this is where we begin to look at life differently. We begin to see ourselves connected with life in a different way. Because remember, we're not that busyness can really can cause us to not really face or feel what we're going through in life. As we get to the contemplation, we begin to we feel what we call a thin space. And thin space is where heaven and earth are very close. Like on a beach, you just feel like, oh my gosh, this is heaven. That's a thin space. Or as you look at that mountain and you look at the beauty of a mountain, you sense the awe, the grandeur. That's the thin space, that feel of heaven on earth. So the contemplative discovery pathway theory also leads to gratitude. It's the gratitude we feel towards life, which leads us to this authentic self based in love, humility, forgiveness, and gratitude. It was Dr. Allen's theory that would help me to connect the domain of mental health to spiritual health, which brings us to actually holism number 3, experience the magic of spirituality like heaven on earth. And before I go any further, are there any questions?
No questions. I think everyone's just really thinking that was really, really contemplative information that you just gave us. I think a lot of us are really processing it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Spiritual domain, this is our idea that we are part of a larger scheme of life. And remember what I said, part of a larger scheme. So, we're dealing with parts, integrating, becoming whole. And so we are a part of a larger scheme of life. We are a part of a whole, something bigger. This is about life has a purpose. This is about where we find meaning in life. And this domain impacts all the other domains. And when we look at it in the biopsychosocial spiritual model, we have some benefits, and I like to use a metaphor here and look at it in terms of how a coconut tree is grounded. Now, if you are like, I grew up in the Bahamas, where on the island where there are hurricanes and storms. So I have taken note of how does a coconut tree survive a hurricane or a storm. Because you will see that spirituality is the trees can teach us a lot about spirituality. These trees can sustain storms, hurricanes, They can keep us grounded. And spirituality can keep us grounded. It grounds us. That's the first benefit, groundedness. Another benefit is resiliency. The coconut trees are symbols of resilience. Coconut trees can float in water up to 4 months and still be able to germinate. So spirituality is like that. It can provide resilience. So just to backtrack, spirituality keeps us grounded. It provides groundedness. It helps us to be resilient. Coconut trees are also resourceful. The other benefit of spirituality. On the Fiji Island, there's a saying that says, be good like a coconut tree. Every part of the coconut tree is utilized. They are excellent sources of building material. Household needs are made from them, such as ropes, sewing threads, brushes, and mats. Even the cosmetic industry uses its oils for soaps and creams. So spirituality can help us to remain resourceful throughout our lifespan. So the coconut trees have many different purposes. There are many uses for spirituality. We can incorporate spirituality in every part of our life and turn these areas into sacred spaces. That's what I have done. Like when I was competing in bodybuilding, I elevated it to a sacred act. For me, it was building spiritual muscles of resiliency. Nutrition for me was not just about eating or even nourishing the body. It was nourishing also the soul. My mind became not just a tool of learning, but also a new way to grow flowers and weed out weeds, a way to be rooted in a world that was changing, shifting. It was a way to connect with nature and others and to experience the transcendent love within the universe. So spirituality helps us to find meaning, a deeper meaning in life, and that's the other benefit. So as an educator, personal trainer, author, and also drama coach, I have aligned my entire life into what is known as integrative health. So for example, when we look at as an integrative health, I help people to achieve optimal health. So for example, if someone has type 2 diabetes, I'm not only looking at how to manage the disease through medication, but you're also looking at exercise and nutritional interventions, along with how psychological stress affects blood sugar regulation. All of these things are part of the integrative health model. So, in other words, integrative health or optimal health involves the whole person, body, mind, and spirit. And so, as you can see, we started from Jan Christian Smuts. We moved right through to George Engel, and we with the biopsychosocial model, psychosocial spiritual model. And you're now hearing these are words now you're going to be hearing in healthcare or just health in general, integrative health. And this is a focus on wellness or optimal health as opposed to focus on disease management. And this is very important because we have now shifted. There's a shift now, and I'm a part of the shift of treating the whole person, body, mind, and spirit. That you cannot just treat the disease. You have to treat the whole person, all the different aspects of the person as well. And to be without disease is not just health. To prevent a disease is not just health. It involves keeping healthy or being healthy in all those areas of health and all those domains of health. So optimal health is positive health. It is showing gratitude in the good and the bad times, being hopeful, optimistic times. This is health. Being able to show gratitude. I mean, we're living in a time where, in the good and the bad time, can we find gratitude? Can we be thankful still? Can we show kindness in the stores when they're hoarding toilet papers? And so, but can you still show, be kind and let someone have, I know I had a wonderful experience. I was telling my husband when I got home, there was only one toilet paper, I think, pack left. And this lady, I had asked her, I was like, where did you get the toilet paper from? And she's like, oh, this was the last one, but take it. I have more at home. I have a lot more. Please take it, you know. And so I was so tickled by it because, it's great to see kindness, especially during this time. And this is all a part of what positive health is. And so when we talk about health, it also involves being positive. It also involves our well-being. This is also health. It encompasses our ability to adapt and self-manage in the face of social, physical, and emotional challenges. That's health. That, especially now, in terms of what we are facing nationally, globally, our well-being is determined by how well we are able to adapt and self-manage in the face of these challenges. Health also involves resilience. It's our ability to bounce back after a setback. Like a flower, it's always growing continually towards the light or finding the light. Where is the light? This may be a grim time for some of us, many of us, but we look for the light. If you watch a plant will always find the light. And if you remember the path, I looked for the sun rays and I followed the sun rays. So when you have those dark times where you can't see or when it's uncertain, where is the light? You look for the light. So your health, therefore, health or optimal health is less of an abstract state and more of a means to an end. In other words, it is a resource that permits people, your health allows you to lead an individually, socially, economically, and productive life. In other words, your health is your wealth. Optimal health has also evolved to include, okay, and I want you to listen to this part carefully. Health has also evolved to include a wellness component that reflects the idea that health is dynamic and requires a sense that a person is actively working to function at a higher level. It's dynamic. You don't reach a point on this journey to holism. It's dynamic. There is no, I'm done. I'm like, you finished with you may have retired, but you're not done on the journey of holism because it continues as a human being. It's about us becoming, growing, and moving to a higher level. The goal of wellness is a lifestyle approach that is designed to move the individual beyond physical or mental limitations to live a richer and fuller life. So health is it's vast, it's body, it's mind, it's spirit, all of those areas working together as one. So now let the course of life begin. If you have enjoyed this webinar, you can continue to study this topic. If you're interested, please reach out to me at journeytoholism.com or that's my email, ettadale@journeytoholism. for more information. And I want to say you are not meant to do life alone. I am an integrative health coach. I partner and I guide and walk with people with them on the journey to health. So don't forget to pick up your gift. Remember the gift I said, if you stay to the very end, it's a journey to holism.com. All right, Gail, I'm turning it back over to you.
Thank you very much, Etta. You gave us a lot to think about today. That was great information. You might want to just switch back to your slide with your contact information on it, just in case people didn't have time to get that. Thank you very much. Now, that was really wonderful. Really, really appreciate it. And I really appreciate the participation from the audience. That always adds so much to the
Yes, thank you.
Experience. So really, really appreciate that. So I just want to let you know, once you leave the webinar today, you'll receive a quick 5-question survey, and it would be really helpful to us if you would just take a few moments. It's just like, just pick one answer to provide your feedback so we can continue to keep these webinars improving and giving you what you're looking for. And you'll also receive a follow-up email within 4 hours, and it'll have a link to a recording of today's webinar. And you can feel free to share it with anyone you'd like to, or you can view it again. And also, our past wellness webinars are on the Friends Life Care website, so you can check those out. We have a lot of good ones. And also, one more thing I wanted to let you know about our upcoming Vigor programming. So we have an exciting 6-week course starting on May 28th. It's some live Alexander Technique movement classes. So for those of you who aren't familiar with those, these are movement classes that help to keep you in alignment, and they help improve mind-body coordination and performance, reduce pain, and maximize well-being. And they're going to be held from 10 to 11 a.m. on Thursdays beginning May 28th. And our next Vigor Wellness webinar will be Senior Moment or Alzheimer's Disease. And it'll be held from 2 to 3 p.m. on Thursday, June 11th. Dr. Cherian Verghese, a psychiatrist and neurologist, is going to do the presentation for us. And the follow-up email that you're going to receive with the recording of today's webinar will provide a link so you can learn more and register for either or both of those events. I hope you're able to join us. But thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you again, Etta, and everyone have a wonderful rest of your day. Take care.
Thank you.